Hey, what's up? Postal268 here, and honestly, I'm just making this video just to kind of vent about use some common sense. I didn't I got pulled over, but I didn't get a ticket because I wasn't doing anything wrong, and they didn't have any proof that I was doing anything wrong. But it was an inconvenience, especially because you know, it's just a big waste of time. It is just annoying that I kept getting like they kept trying to bait me into admitting it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna admit it. I wasn't doing it. So, to give some backstory, I drive a 1990 Honda CRX HF. The motor is completely stock. There is no modifications besides it has a cold air intake and a different exhaust. And so just let's see, we're gonna move over here. So as you see, the stock Honda CRX, one of the slowest of all of the Honda cars, makes about 62 horsepower. Now, if in the best case scenario, you can maybe get an additional 20, but realistically, maybe an extra 5 horsepower, as you see right here, from adding an cold air intake and an exhaust. So still sub 100 horsepower. It's a very weak car. And during the encounter, I even explained that the car used to be louder, but that was because it didn't have a catalytic converter. I bought a catalytic converter and put it on the car, and so it's nowhere near as loud. And that also cuts the horsepower back down, negating most of any benefits you would have gotten from the intake and the exhaust upgrades. So we're pretty much running with a stock CRX, not that different. And the 0 to 60 speeds is 14.1 seconds, which I've run mine. Mine's actually worse than that. So, but got Google Earth here. So I was on this highway here, and speed limit's 55, and the speed limit of this highway here is 50. So I did go through this curve a little fast for what most people would, but I just, was trying to maintain my speed of 50 miles an hour so that I could more seamlessly merge onto the other highway. I'm merging, and I guess it shouldn't be that much of a concern because it was 12:30 at night and there's not too many other cars, but lo and behold, there was one car right where I was trying to merge, and there is some train tracks here. And with as lightweight as my car is, it does kind of hop up in the air a little bit when you go over train tracks. But, I'm really big on fuel economy, so I'm about maintaining my speed as much as possible. I have modified the car a lot, but not the engine. I've modified the suspension. I've got, aftermarket struts on the front, slightly lowering the front. I put bigger brakes on there, which are still stock brakes. They're just off of a different model CRX. I got the Honda CRX SI brakes instead of the HF because I was going down a mountain and the HF brakes just overheated and went out on me, and I was like, oh, I'll upgrade the brakes a little bit. I've also got front and rear strut bars to reduce body roll, and I got a front stabilizer bar and radius rods. Replace those with stiffer ones, so the handling is extremely stiff, so that it can corner really well, so that I can maintain my speed, and get better fuel economy. But I don't accelerate fast, and I don't gas it, which that's a phrase that he used was gas it. So apparently he was somewhere in this general area and he could hear my car. And my car is a little loud because it's got an aftermarket exhaust on it. I didn't do that, it was the previous owner. And so he heard me going through this curve, giving it gas because it's a weak motor and I'm trying to maintain my speed. And this is a relatively sharp curve, which means it's taking a lot of your momentum out of the car. But it's less efficient to just, not give it gas. Like, it's more efficient to maintain my speed than to allow myself to slow down as much. And since the car is really weak, the motor's working a little bit harder. I have a vacuum gauge on the car, and I wasn't leaving. I think I was still around 17 on the vacuum gauge. So it's not like I was giving it a ton of gas, like just you know, uh in between coasting and accelerating. So about halfway. So not as much as I'd give it if I was accelerating, but a little bit more than I'd give it if I was coasting because there are forces acting on the car. So I was going about 55 here because that's the speed limit, and I coasted in neutral a little bit to get down to right at the speed limit for the next road, which was about 50. So I went through this curve about 50 miles an hour and then merged at 50 behind another car. And they were going roughly, I would say 45 because they were going a little bit slower than me. So I would say from here to here, I was behind them. And then I got over to the other lane here. And it took me from here to overtake them. And about that time, I think it was about right here, I noticed this, like a car just flying up this road super fast. So I sped up a little bit more to 55 so I could overtake the other car a little faster. And so I got over about here-ish, and he got behind me and turned on his lights about right here. So about point 0.4 miles. And I calculated about how fast I was going, because this is also about the spot that I think he was at. So he's about the exact same distance from me as it took him to get to me. If I was driving, like, because he did accuse me of going 70. If I was going 70, I don't think we would have caught up to me that fast. But even with this distance, like, yeah, so I calculated it's a little hard to get the numbers right. But I put about 0.4, and then I kept changing the numbers. I would say it was an average of 53 because I did speed up to 55 at one point. I got onto the interstate at about 50, so we'll say that's a pretty good estimate. So it took him about 27 seconds to get to me from the moment I merged. Now, let's just say that he was moving already when I got on the interstate, which I highly doubt because he did say in the encounter that he had to turn around. So I'm assuming he was on the opposite end of the road. So, like, he was probably parked maybe under the bridge. And I didn't see him turning around. I just saw him once he was on the road. So, about the distance I saw him, I'm going to say, he was 0.4 from where we started. So, he went a total of 0.8 miles in the same exact amount of time, which means he was going 106. So, and I know this might seem very condescending, so I'll get into the story of why I'm explaining all of this. So he pulls me over, and when he gets to my window, he's like, "What are you doing?" Like, in the most hostile way I could imagine. Like this dude literally thought, I guess, that I was some sort of flying like a bat out of hell, and I just trying not to laugh. I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, what do you mean, what was I doing? And so, I mean, after I run these numbers here, what are you doing? What are you doing? 106 miles per hour because you think I might be speeding? I'm just saying, in realistic terms here, because I know the speeds I'm going, because I'm watching that stuff, because I am super anal about fuel economy. I've got my every fuel tank this entire year I've got on EcoModder. I'm not going to get good fuel economy gas in it, as he says. So he proceeds to accuse me of flying like crazy. He said, "I heard you gassing it going through that curve and flying onto the highway and cutting lanes." I was like, I was going 50 through the curve. I was going 50 when I merged, and I sped up to 55 when I noticed there was a car coming up behind me really fast so I could get out of the way. I was like, no, I wasn't gassing it. And he just kept going on. Like, he kept trying to get me to admit I was speeding. And he accused me of going 70 through the curve. I was like, no, I'm not going to admit I was speeding. I wasn't. Like, do you have any evidence besides my car was loud? Like, I'm sorry? It sounded like, it's a weak motor to go the speed limit. It sounds like it's going fast because it's a weak motor. I'm like, that's evidence enough. Like, the amount of time, like, the distance it took you to get up to me was barely any distance. I had enough time to merge on, see that this car was going under the speed limit, turned on my turn signal, and merged over. So I don't know what he meant by cutting lanes. Like, I got on and even used a turn signal after sitting behind that car for a second to get over. And used a turn signal to get out of his way. Like, what the fuck? It blows my mind. It After he ran on my stuff, he's like, he was like, "Are you coming back from a car show?" I was like, "No, I was coming from a friend's house. I'm going home." And he's like, "I know you got a tuned out car and you want to drive fast." I'm like, "I don't have a tuned out car. Like, this thing's a bucket of shit. Like, look at it. Like, I've got a blue hood, a red bumper, two blue doors." Like, you can tell that this thing is hobbled together with spare parts. I have a cheap car. Like, I'm not tuning it out. Like, maybe he thought the vacuum gauge was a boost gauge. I don't know. It's a vacuum gauge. It's what people use when they care about their fuel economy. I just, I just never thought I would get pulled over for speeding when I wasn't speeding. Like, I drive everywhere, not fast, on purpose. Like, I'm trying to, like, it's dumb, but they have like this top 10 of like the best, fuel economic cars on EcoModder. And so I've been every second I'm driving, I'm watching everything trying to get my numbers up cuz I'm sitting right at 11th best on the website right now in the gasoline car division. And I'm like, I want to get the top 10 for fuel economy. You don't get to the 11th best spot on EcoModder gassing it. Like, it just blows my mind. I mean, he could. I guess maybe you could go with the whole disturbing the peace, but there isn't much I can do about that muffler. It was on the car when I bought it, and it's not really that loud. Like I explained to him, it used to be really loud. Like, people constantly used to think I was trying to race them off of a stoplight when I was just accelerating like normal. Like, I was accelerating quite slow because I was concerned about fuel economy. Like, it's just, I wouldn't have been making this if it weren't just this guy was so convinced and he was mad about it. Like, he was mad, like, visibly mad. Like, I don't understand why cops, every time they pull you over for something, they're mad like you've done something to them. Like, why are you mad? Even if I were speeding, what is that? Why does that piss you off? Like, why be like? Why would you? Why do you enter an encounter hostile? Like, that's not the way to go about anything. It's not very professional, and I don't know why they all do it. They all look at me and assume I'm a teenager, and they look at my car and assume because of the way it looks and sounds that I guess I'm, whatever. I'm just broke. I'm poor. That's it. Like, oh, I mean, I can't. My appearance is just this is the way I dress. I guess. I mean, I like colorful clothes and I like hats. You know, it'd be a bit weird if I was wearing a fedora. I guess. I mean, this is just the normal hat. I guess I shouldn't wear hats and t-shirts. I'll drive around in a suit, sir. I'm sorry. Yeah. But my lord, like, thank goodness there was another cop there. This other cop came out. He's really chill about it, and I explained to him, like, it's just a misunderstanding. My car is just a little loud, but I've done everything I can to reduce the noise. I let him know that the modifications that are on the car for performance were from the previous owner. I let him know that I've added a catalytic converter to the car to make it more quiet and to pass emissions. I informed him I didn't have a turbo, nothing like that. I offered plenty of times. I was like, look, I apologize. Like, I'm very sorry for the misunderstanding. I was like, I will open the hood. And I explained to him, like, I'll open the hood and let you look at the motor. It is a 1.5 liter stock HF motor. The like the slowest of all of the Hondas. So, I mean, it's gonna, you gotta give it gas to get to 50. It's a struggle to maintain between 50 and 60. So, if you heard how much that car was struggling to maintain that speed, you should certainly know it wasn't going 70. And with how quickly he caught up to me, you know, because like I said, I measured it and I calculated based off my speed, 27 seconds. And there was another car for reference. I was almost beside that other car the whole time. Were we both driving 70? Like, he should have, like, if he had been sitting there taking radar, that means he should have known the approximate speed of the car that passed him. If nothing else, he should have at least seen the car drive by. Then he should have seen me merge on at the exact same speed almost, just a little tiny bit faster. And then, by the time he got to me, I hadn't even passed the car enough to get over yet. Like, it still took me a second to get enough distance to safely get over. And he should have also noticed that my brake lights didn't come on a single time because I didn't hit the brakes. All should have been pretty clear-cut evidence I wasn't driving crazy fast. If I were driving that fast, you would have seen my brake lights come on because I would have had to slow down to get to the same speed as the other car. Unless you just thought my brake lights didn't work. I mean, I guess that's a possibility. Yeah, I mean, just unhook the brake lights just so that they don't know that I'm hitting my brakes because I'm driving so fast. Like I said, I wouldn't be venting about this and showing all this if it weren't just so ridiculous to me that this guy just wouldn't let it go. He just kept holding me there and going on about it. And he was like, I see you've got on your record here 77 and a 55. I was like, yeah, that was like 2010. I was a bit younger then. But yes, that is on my record. It's been over 10 years. Uh, I guess I've been just really good about not getting caught this whole time, and I've just been driving around like crazy. But yeah, I just, I just mainly like, I don't understand. I don't understand why cops are always in such a pissy mood. I get pulled over a lot, actually, for the appearance of my car, but this is the first time I've been pulled over and drilled and accused of speeding when I wasn't. Like, I was just like, fuck, I'm getting a ticket and I wasn't even speeding. Like, I'm just sitting there going through my mind, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? Like, I can only keep repeating myself and trying my best to assure him. Like, I was like, look, I swear on my life, man. Like, I promise. Like, I said those words. It's like, I swear on my life, I was not going 70. Like, I have told you my approximate speeds. Like, it was 50 on the off ramp. It's not really an off ramp. It's just the highway itself curves and ends into another highway. The suggested speed is 40, but it's not like the speed limit just changes on the curve. The speed limit's still 55 for that highway and 50 for the next highway. And I did go 5 over. So technically I was speeding, but I sped up 5 over because I saw this bat out of hell flying down the road behind me. And I was like, I need to get out of the way. I'm glad I didn't hit the brakes and get behind the guy I was riding next to, because then he could have just said I was hitting the brakes and slowing down. Like, at least if they go back over the footage, like, if I had gotten a ticket or anything, you could easily go back in the footage and see I never hit my brakes at any moment. But, and well, until the lights came on, I had to pull over. But yeah, it just, if anybody out there is a police officer, could you just explain to me why you're always in such a bad mood? Like, why is it always gotta be so hostile? Like, like, I get you have to assert authority and, be professional, but being pissed off isn't professional. Like, it's really pointless. You're just gonna immediately escalate the confrontation more than it needs to be. It should be an investigation, which should be calm, collective. I tried over and over to diffuse the hostility with this officer. I was talking just like this. I was very polite. I apologized for the misunderstanding, and I apologized over and over. I was like, I'm very sorry that my car sounds that way. I'm very sorry that you mistook my speed. I was like, but I assure you, I only look like I'm going fast and sound like it because I'm in a tiny little go-kart. An itty bitty little go-kart. It likes to hop over the bumps and make a lot of noise because you gotta almost, like, I'd probably have to floor the thing to go past 80. Like, I'm almost flooring it when I'm on, like, the, where the interstates, where the speed limit is 70. I'm almost practically flooring it on the interstate. Like, I mean, it's not. I'm not doing anything. I don't get it. I don't get cops. And I really don't get the whole just the comment about me having a speeding ticket. Like, yeah, I've one speeding ticket on my record when I was like 19. you know, like I doubt that there's not, a whole bunch of people that got at least one speeding ticket when they were a teenager. But I'm 31 now. you know, I'm in a shit bucket that can't hardly move because the car was $1,300. Like, it was a cheap car. It gets really good fuel economy. I mean, I can saw off the muffler, but I think that'd probably make it louder. I bought a cheap car, so I don't really want to invest money to change the muffler out. It's just the muffler that was on it. I mean, it's not really that loud. Like, that's the thing. It is substantially more quiet. Like, the wind noise, because I had the windows down. Well, not down all the way. I had the windows cracked, but just from the wind noise coming in the car through the cracked windows was loud enough that I couldn't hear the motor that much. So I don't understand even where he got the idea that I was just gassing it. I was maintaining a constant speed of 50 through a curve, which I will admit most people wouldn't go 50 through a curve. They probably would slow down, I guess, to the 40 suggested speed. But like I said, I don't like to slow down because that hurts my fuel economy. And as long as I'm not going over the speed limit, is it illegal to go through a curve at the speed limit? As long as, my tires are like this big, they're 175, 70, 13s. If I were going crazy fast, the car would lose grip. Like, if it rains, I have to actually go slower than the suggested speeds because then the car will slide. But I've done a lot of work to keep the car as stable as possible. It's, in my opinion, for that car, it wasn't a dangerous speed to be going through there. I've actually been passed on that plenty of times. Like, that's the same speed I go every single time. And if there's ever a car merging with me, they always pass me. So it's just, like, I'm used to everyone being the ones passing me. Very rarely am I passing someone, and when I am, it takes forever. Like I was explaining there, that guy was going like 5 under the speed limit, which I thought was a bit odd. I know now why he was going 5 under the speed limit, because he had just passed a cop. you know, everybody, they all slow down under the speed limit. I don't, because I'm like, I'm going the speed limit. They pull me over, that's their problem. But I guess I should have been going under the speed limit. you know, you shouldn't be driving 50 in a 50. Gotta go 45. But yeah, just I don't have anybody to talk to about this, so I thought I just vented the camera. So yeah, it's been Postal 268. Thanks for watching.